Well, it has been a wild 2021, and as we're reflecting back on all of the historical events that occurred, we quickly want to forget about all of them and distract ourselves with the wonderful world of fountain pen ink. So that's exactly what we've done in this video today. We have compiled a list of the hottest inks that we saw come through Goulet pens this year and compiled them into this list for you today. Hello everyone, I am Brian Goulet.
And I am Drew Brown.
And we are here from gouletpens.com to deliver you this totally subjective and unbelievably biased list of fountain pen inks that we can loosely constructed into an order that could easily be challenged and debated. But we're going to stand by it with the blind fortitude that we feel encapsulates the online opinionated communication that has happened in 2021.
There you go.
What do you think? You think that sounds pretty good, Drew?
I think it's a celebration of the year. You bet.
There you go. But in all seriousness, we just wanted to have some fun and share out some cool things that we saw come through with some just really interesting looking ink that were stand out for this year. Counting down to number 1, we're going to start out with the 5th on our list, which is Noodler's X Feather Blue. Now, if you're familiar with Noodler's, X Feather is one of the original colors that has really stood alone because it's a bulletproof, meaning a permanent and fraud-proof ink. It is really good at resisting feathering and bleeding and basically performs really well even on cheaper absorbent paper. And we've been getting asked basically for the better part of a decade that we've been carrying this brand, hey, can you ask Nathan Tardif to make another color of X Feather, because that's really what we want. And he delivered in 2021. So he came out with a dark blue, looks phenomenal, and it was a pretty big hit, even just from the onset. It was themed around Winston Churchill. It's got an awesome picture of him on the bottle with his historical quote that says, "History will be kind to me, for I intend to write it." Such a Nathan thing to say. It's just fantastic. It's a really popular color, performs really well, just like the original X Feather did. And it's available in a 3-ounce bottle, and it sold really well all year, and I'm willing to bet that it's going to become, just one of the ongoing staple inks of the Noodler's brand for years to come.
Okay, moving down to our number 4 position. This isn't a singular ink. This is a collection of ink, and it is the 2021 Diamine Inkvent Calendar. Boom. So in 2019, Diamine did their first Inkvent calendar, a collection of 25 different inks to celebrate every day of the month of December leading up to Christmas Day, as Advent calendars often do. So this was the first time anything like that had been done, and despite, a lot of requests for it, Diamine finally did it. It was a huge deal. However, demand sadly outpaced the manufacturing on that one. So a lot of people got it, but also a lot of people missed out on it. Despite that, it was extraordinarily well received. It even led to Diamine making their own full-size bottles from a lot of the better sellers of that collection. They made the blue edition inks, which even had a brand new, never-before-seen glass bottle. So it was a big hit. Didn't get anything from them in 2020. However, 2021, they came back strong with the newest Inkvent calendar. Did a much better job at meeting demand. A lot more people got it in their hands, and in my opinion, was very much worth it. A lot of great colors in this version. The bottles were slightly different, 12 mil little plastic bottles instead of the glass ones that they had in 2019, but every bit as fun. I actually swabbed up these inks this morning, Brian, and let me tell you, just the act of going in there and, trying out the inks, there's nothing more fun if you're a fan of a wide variety of ink. You've got your standard inks, you've got your shimmering inks, your shading inks, and then some that shimmer and shade. So Diamine really covered all the bases and collected a bunch of really, really fun inks. And hopefully we'll be seeing more of these, in the future. They might make some full bottles. Some of my favorites ended up being, this was the one I did this morning, the last day of the Advent calendar was the All the Best ink. And that one is right here at the bottom. It is a kind of a magenta with some gold sheen and blue shimmer to it. But really all of them are quite exceptional looking. They're a lot of fun to play with. And if you're a fan of variety, this definitely has it for you.
Yeah, and full disclosure here, we probably would have put this closer to number 1, but because it was a whole collection of inks, we didn't feel that was quite so fair to do, but it had to absolutely be on this list because of how popular it was. All right, number 3 on the list is Pelikan Edelstein Golden Barrel. This was a special edition, the Ink of the Year, which Pelikan has done for a number of years now. And they're usually pretty strong colors. And this one was a notable difference from years past because it was the first shimmer ink that we have seen come from Pelikan. They're usually a pretty conservative company, German brand. They tend to stick to, your more conventional ink colors, no wild properties. So honestly, it was kind of a surprise that they came out with a shimmer for this one. And they went hard on that shimmer. I mean, it was an intense amount of shimmer. You can see it swirling around in that gorgeous bottle that they have. And it was like, okay, yeah, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it right. And they really nailed it. It's a beautiful color, kind of unique as well. And combine that with just the packaging and everything, I think they did a really phenomenal job. Now, granted, this is their Ink of the Year, which is probably going to only be around for maybe 9 months, maybe 12 months or so. So it's still around as the time that we're putting out this video, but it's probably not going to be around much longer into 2022. But still, I think it's a notable one for this year.
Okay, we're going to come down to the number 2 position in our top 5 list. And once again, Brian, I'm just breaking the mold. I'm not going to talk about a singular ink because I'm just like that. No,
why you gotta be so difficult, Drew?
This is a big deal, Brian, because not every day does the pen industry receive a brand new ink brand. And also not every day does an older ink brand get resurrected. And also not every day, when something does get resurrected, does it happen with such impact and gusto. So what I'm talking about is Private Reserve. So that is a long-running ink brand that had been lying dormant in hibernation for years. We haven't carried it in years. But in 2021, Jaffa Brands resurrected Private Reserve ink, and boy did they do it. Okay, they did not trickle out colors. Like, granted, they started off with some of the more popular core colors, but then very soon after they added more core colors, and then they added other collections within that. And here's the kicker that I really think sets them apart, is that the collections that they've added within their brand weren't just like a collection of types of colors. They added a fast drying collection and an infinity collection. Now, these are both collections that are property and performance based, not color based. Any old ink company can come out with this is the pink collection or whatever. The fast drying collection is defined as a bunch of fast dry inks, and no other brand has a really obviously dedicated collection of fast dry inks, and I just love that. And it really provides writers with a clear cut, okay, this is a fast dry ink. It's boom right there on the front of the label. They know they can get that. And if they want an ink that they can be confident will dry out super slow, then they buy an infinity ink, which Private Reserve has created. Now, the fast dry stuff was, they had done that previously, but the infinity inks were brand new for 2021. And again, there's no other ink collection like this. They created this ink to not dry out in your pens. You can leave your pens uncapped for a long, obscenely long period of time, which you really shouldn't be doing. But if you do, if you're one of those people, this is the ink for you. And then they have another pearlescent series of inks, which isn't quite performance-based, but it does a thing. And when I say pearlescent, I mean like pearlescent. These things are like writing with those old like milky gel pens from 2001. It's insane, or 97, I don't know, whatever. Long time ago. It's an ink unlike anything I've ever seen. And for a brand to do all of this in 1 year, it's a big deal. So they have to be in number 2 position. And there are some standout colors, but really the brand's resurrection as an event needs to be on this list for 2021.
All right. Now, you've been waiting for that number 1 choice, and it is going to come right after we talk about the honorable mentions. Because let's be honest, we had some inks that we wanted to talk about here, but we're like, I don't know if it necessarily fits on like a numbered portion of the list. And we're all just making this up as we go along anyway. So we're like, let's just talk about it and just call it something different. So here we are. I thought it was worth mentioning Urban Emerald of Chivor, their 1670 color. It's one of my favorite inks. Gorgeous teal color with a red sheen and some gold shimmer. I mean, come on. It's just so cool. And the packaging looks awesome. Great bottle, whatever. I could gush forever, but it's not new. but it's still really, 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 really popular. I think if we just pulled like sales numbers in terms of most popular ink, it would be in the top 5. However, we wanted to give some light to some other different ones. But what I did want to mention that was pretty cool that Arbonne did differently this year, they came out with a boxed set of some smaller bottles of all of the 1670 inks, which I thought was really cool. So you can try Emerald Chevrolet with all of the other 1670s too, and without having to buy full bottles of everything. So I thought that was also pretty cool. So I just wanted to give a nod to Arbonne for just coming out with some really great stuff and for that little package set, which I thought was cool.
We need to give another nod, and that nod needs to be pointed in the direction of the random ink sample, Brian. Year after year, our most popular singular ink sample, which isn't really a singular ink sample because it's random, but it's always the random ink sample. Folks love to just try random inks. And we've got over 800. That is a lot. And honestly, it's a little overwhelming for me anyway. So we've had a lot of writers tell us, hey, I picked up this random ink sample and now it's one of my favorite colors. It's a great way to just try something new and you might be surprised. So we have to mention the success, popularity, and honestly recommend it. If you haven't ever tried just picking one at random, why not? They're really affordable and fun.
Okay, now we finally gotten to the number 1 fountain pen ink of the year, in our opinion, and in Cold Hard Fact. Well, the past 2 years doing this video, the number 1 ink has been Organic Studio Nitrogen. So even as we were preparing for this video, we were like, is Organic Studio Nitrogen going to be dethroned or will it hold its own? Well, maybe you've been asking yourself the same thing. So
I want to know, Brian, tell me.
Okay, well, here's what we did. We pulled some sales numbers to see, in fact, Organic Studio Nitrogen was going to be the number 1, and I found that, in fact, when taking all things into account, looking at every angle from all perspectives, with all the data, and with our experience, it became evident that with all factors at play, that nitrogen was, in fact, dethroned. It was dethroned. It was not our number 1 ink of the year. It was number 2, though, so maybe throw that in as another honorable mention, but I didn't want to say it as an honorable mention because it would have spoiled it. But anyway, that was our number 2. But there was one color that was actually a new color for this year too. That was our number 1 best-selling color, and that was Diamine Writer's Blood. So this was technically, it looked like Organic Studio was our number 1 because it's only available in 1 bottle size. But when we looked at Writer's Blood in both the 80 ml and the 30 ml, when we combined them, we were like, oh, snap. Writer's Blood outsold nitrogen. So
wow.
And it's got kind of a cool story too. I mean, there's nothing too crazy about the properties of Writer's Blood. I mean, it's a gorgeous ink. It's a deep red, leans a little bit purple maybe. It, it's got kind of that same popularity as like Diamine Ox Blood is always a super popular one as well. That one leans maybe a little more brown. This one's a little more purple. Cool. So it's not like a wildly different color, but what was really interesting about this one is the fact of just how it originated, which was through the our fountain pens subreddit. So really it was the Reddit community that wanted to do an exclusive ink with Diamine. So they did that. They came up with this color, sold it directly on Reddit in 2020. And it was so popular, Diamine decided to make it a regularly available color and distribute it through their retailers, which is where we got our hands on it. And we were thrilled because we were like, oh my gosh, everybody's talking about this ink. They're asking us when we're going to carry it. Please, Diamine, help us because this is getting exhausting. We just want to carry it. So they made that available to us in January. It was a hit from the get, and it sold really well throughout the whole year. And lo and behold, ended up being number 1 for all of 2021 at Goulet Pens. So that's pretty darn cool. And, got to give them props. Got to give them props for that, for dethroning the old nitrogen. So I have no idea what'll happen next year, but it'll be really interesting to see, who's at the top, because it's usually them and like Emerald of Chivor, Noodler's Black is usually
and
pretty high.
Oxblood last year. right?
Oxblood's usually up there pretty high too. Yeah. So I don't know. I think Writer's Blood maybe undercut Oxblood a little bit because they're kind of close. So anyway, very fun, very interesting. You know, obviously lots of things have been challenged this year, what with supply chain and stuff like that. So quite frankly, we just didn't see as many new inks as maybe we would have in any other year. But still, it was great to see some innovation still happening, lots of excitement. And I think we were able to honor that with this list. So, you know, please let us know what you think in the comments. There are some inks that were special editions that maybe we're not going to have anymore as you're watching this, but there may be some that are still available. So if you are interested, go check out gouletpens.com. We'll have links in the description. You can check everything out. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share this video, you know, because that only helps us and that helps the fountain pen community to discover more of this cool, fun stuff. Really glad you were able to join us here. Glad you were able to join us for an awesome 2021 fountain pen year. And, you know, above all, we really just want you to write on.